So let's start at the beginning. Why was AVC start?
Okay, so this was back in the golden age. I was
10 years ago.
It was, yeah, I guess it was.
2008. Yeah.
This will be the 10th year.
I don't have my 2008 shirt, I don't think. Anyway, so Tim and I, Tim Holmberg was in an office across from mine, and he was like, Pete, you gotta come here and check this out. I'm like, what? And we had been talking about RC trucks, right? And so he was showing me this one RC truck chassis that he liked. It was like a 10 scale, and it was all really nice polished aluminum. And he points to it and goes, how do we buy this on the SparkFun dime? I'm like, dude, I don't even know. And then you came wandering by, and he was like, what you guys doing? And I'm like, Tim's looking at this chassis, wondering how we can get it on SparkFun. And I couldn't come up with anything. And you're like, well, why don't we have a contest?
I remember it a little differently. I remember, I remember Tim, right? And I thought it was tech support or somebody was wondering, like, you know, we keep getting these customers asking us, can we build this thing? And Nate, why can't you build me a robot that can go to the grocery store and get me lunch?
That may have been a corollary to it. I don't.
After the fact,
that particular piece of the story may have been out of my sphere.
Yeah,
so I may not have heard.
No. But it's same thing. Where it's like, why can't you guys do something and build me use? And we both looked at each other, and it was like, well, we have all the parts. If anybody could build this, SparkFun should be able to.
So then it became like a challenge. Like, okay, by tax day, you got to put together a thing that will navigate the building using as little. As only stuff off of our shelf.
Pretty much. Well, first of all, when did we have this discussion? Was it like December? I think it was pretty late, right?
December or January. It was like something.
So we just sort of like, hey, let's do this thing. How hard could it be? We'll do it in, I don't know, tax day, April 15th. So that's 3 months. No big deal. 3 months. And it was a little rough, but I built a vehicle that year. One of the other inspirations for it was the DARPA Grand Challenge. The second DARPA Grand Challenge had just failed because of a bush, right? And so these multi-million-dollar gigantic vehicles, it was the second year that DARPA had done it, and I faintly remember like one of the vehicles that got the furthest got off the line, made it 100 yards, and then scanned a bush and couldn't figure out what it was or how to get around it. It was like, I don't know what that is.
Well, did you see that the night after we talked to Tim? Because the very next day you came back to me and said, well, let's open it up to everybody.
Yeah.
And
we talked about, we talked about doing it internally, and then it was like, this is kind of hard. How about we invite some people, because this is going to be a lot of work for just us.
Show us how this is done.
Yeah, and so we were like, oh, hey, we're going to have this contest, so we put it on the website, and then I was like, oh, yeah, whatever. You guys started coming to me, and you were like, Nate, we need to start thinking about this. I'm like, no, it's fine. We'll just let some people in. They can use our restroom. It's cool. It'll just be a Saturday hangout. And then we start calculating the number of entrants and multiplying by like 5, and it was going to be hundreds of people showing up at our front door, and it was like, we have to figure out like flights and times and rules, and yeah, it turned into a thing. So that was year number 1. If I remember correctly, what were the rules? They were as minimal as possible.
Yeah, I don't even remember.
It was get around the building in the shortest amount of time, clear the 4 corners, however you want.
Did we have aerial the first year?
It was open. Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
They all competed in the same class, and I can't remember if that first year was the Dark Horse Texan guy. There was a guy from Texas who won it all with his aerial vehicle, but I forget if that was year number 1 or
Antonio.
Was that his name?
Yes.
Okay.
Antonio with the flying wing. This is one of my favorite moments that we're going to get to.
We'll get to. Okay. Yeah. So that's how the first AVC happened.
Great. How do you guys see AVC fitting into SparkFun's mission?
Well,
it fits pretty well. We sell all these products that try to inspire people to build stuff, and we all sort of look at each other and go, well, a robot's easy to build. Anybody can build a robot. Cool. Well, yeah, but if you just took these sensors, then it could avoid that wall.
Not everyone could build
if you can do that, then why can't you build a thing and it snowballs very quickly? So AVC ties in really well at SparkFun because it's to get started, to get a rolling robot is work. But then to have it drive itself around the course is just a whole other level of complexity. And so that's what we kind of like at SparkFun. It's like, hey, get your feet wet, get started. And then if you're really into it, the sky's the limit.
Yes, but it's always been a little tricky for us with regard to product support and catalog support for these items, right? SparkFun is not an exclusive robot shop, right? SparkFun is not an exclusive, really,
GPS
shop. Right? So what we do caters to a large number of segments that we could support, and robotics is just one of them. Oftentimes, I mean, we've gone. AVC is a huge party. I mean, it really is. I mean, that's effectively why we did it. We did it to engage with the community and have as much fun as we could. Not really as a money-making gig for SparkFun, and it's never really become that. We've always wanted to support it more and more and more, but it's always like, you know. So going into the future is kind of like, well, how are we going to do this? How can we better align it to what we do?
But it fits into our culture.
It definitely fits into our culture.
The one thing about nerds and myself included, we're introverts, and I don't really like talking to people. But if you ask me about my projects, oh my goodness, let me tell you about them. So AVC was a good thing to get our community together, and then just sort of get us engaged in talking about what we're passionate about. So yeah, we're geeking out about autonomous vehicles. Everybody has a lot of fun.
So AVC has evolved a lot over the last 10 years. What's your favorite way it has changed, and what do you kind of miss from when it was originally happening?
I mean, I enjoy, well, I'm sure we both miss the aerial vehicles. The sheer terror of like a large multi-prop quadcopter falling from the sky.
And this is one of my worst, most feared moments that we're going to talk about.
You know, when we've had some really close calls where these things were clipping, just zooming towards the crowd.
Oh yeah, in the early days when a plane made it to a...
And you know, could the people run fast enough to get out of the way? Because nobody was driving it. There was that, and then there was always the fear that something was going to crash on the nearby highway and then cause an accident or something. And then
it nearly did.
Nearly did.
Across the freeway.
We've lost a couple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One went up on top of our neighbors. It was the T-28 Trojan that was flown by, I think, Bill Primaloni's crew.
Sounds right. Yeah.
I think so. I think those are the guys flying that guy.
Yeah.
I remember watching it oscillate in the sky like this. I'm like,
what was that?
It's coming back. It's coming back. Oh, okay.
Oh, what was the coffee donut something?
Oh,
DCS, or it was the cosine.
Coffee Donuts.
I forget.
Muffin.
Coffee Donuts Muffins. Yeah, that was their team name. But yeah, they did pretty well. Except that they lost their quadcopter, and it was on top of a government-controlled facility.
Yeah.
And so they had to get special allowance to like get onto the property to then get up onto the roof. I think they got it back.
I think they did too.
Yeah.
Do you have any favorite changes that have occurred over time?
BattleBots was a crowd pleaser. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, BattleBots is cool.
Oh man.
I don't know. There's all the changes in venue.
Yep.
I don't know. I guess I just take those in stride more. I don't have a favorite.
Yeah, the res was fun because you got to see stuff fly out over the water, and that was really make or break.
Yeah.
What else? Yeah, venues were good.
Yeah, I don't really mind. There's nothing that changed that I was like, oh, this is great. It's about time. But there are things that have changed. I'm like,
boop, 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 boop. It just changed. Yeah, it was cool. Every year was a little different, and that always kept me engaged.
And speaking of BattleBots, so the competition has shifted a lot towards BattleBots.
Yeah.
Over the last few years. What do you think about that shift? Why do you think that shift has sort of occurred? You know, why do you think people are really drawn to the BattleBots?
That's an interesting. Do you want to start this one?
No, you go for it.
Okay.
I have ideas, but.
What caused it? Engaging with Casey Coons has been a really good time for us. But he added a lot to us as a company, both technically and culturally, and he brought his passion for robotics. That we all have it a little bit.
This is an engineer that worked here
like
for like a couple years.
Off the charts.
Yeah.
And
but he's really tied into the robotic BattleBot community.
And so when we try to support a lot of different things, Casey is like, BattleBots. And so his voice behind that and his place in that community has kind of led to a groundswell of interest for us in that regard.
I also think it's more of a cultural mainstream. BattleBots people know. They've seen it on TV.
It has been on TV.
Autonomous vehicles is a lot more niche. And so, yeah, to go see the BattleBots this weekend, kids, parents, everybody wants to see that. Autonomous vehicles, it's kind of, what is that and why do I want to go? But, oh, they have BattleBots? Cool, we'll go check that out. So I think that's...
Now, one other thing I would mention, we tried another competition once upon a time, the Antimov.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Now, Antimov was, right, it was glorious.
Awesome.
I thought it was the best idea ever, where somebody builds something that does a thing artistically failing and then destroys itself. Oh my God, how awesome is that?
And technically challenging.
And technically
once you start
challenging.
to talk about it, it's like, wow,
how would you do that? And a lot of people did it, but we got a lot of complaints like, wow, I'm not gonna build something just to go in and destroy it. Well, yeah, but then you've got BattleBots. Where people are coughing up $5,000 to get
to destroy it.
Right. And I'm like, come on, guys. Put your money where your mouth is.
That's a really good point.
Personally, I'd like to see Antimov come back.
I would love to see Antimov come back. But like BattleBots is that thing that everybody understands. And Antimov, even though it's sort of robots just getting destroyed, people, it's so hard to get that message across. Abstract. Yeah.
Perfect. Do you guys have a favorite robot from over the years? Probably not one of your own.
God, there were so many. I faintly remember year number 2, the guy that had the morphing wheel.
And that was going to be,
yours?
That was going to be my example.
Okay.
But it was a sphere, wasn't it? Oh, wait, no. There was a guy earlier who had, it was about yay wide, and then there was another one that was like a wire sphere.
I can envision them both. The one I was thinking of was the skinny one that was just a wheel. And this thing, it's hard to describe, but it would basically deflect itself, or
you would like pull one section of the wheel in
and then it fail forward.
Yeah.
And so instead of being a rigid wheel, it would sort of deflate on itself. And as the center of gravity tipped, that was its locomotion. And then it would reassemble and then fail. And so even though, I mean, he made it, 10 yards maybe? We all just drooled over this thing because we were like,
the coolest thing, right?
And that's the year we added an award for like best locomotion or something. And it was just that.
Right, so as we're talking about all this cool stuff about AVC that we loved over the years, you know, it occurs to me that the autonomous portion of this, it's cool and all, you cut your teeth on this sort of thing, but the things that really get our attention are the ones where it was mechanically engineered in such a way to get attention or do something differently, really thinking outside of the norm.
Yep.
And those are the things I think we appreciate the most.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, who made it around the fastest that year? Can't remember.
Yeah, you win, take the money.
Right,
but
the wheel, the deflating wheel was just like, what is, wow.
Okay, I have a quick one
from a listener.
From a listener, yeah. What advice do you have for a team of middle school students coming to their first AVC competition?
Are they competing or are they attending?
They're competing.
They're competing, middle school students.
Yeah.
This is freaking awesome. That's amazing. Be right back. This.
Get a block of wood.
Get a block of wood. Extremely valuable because this is the chalk block. So this is the block that I put under the rear axle of my car whenever I'm working on it, because it was late night the day before AVC 2 years ago, and it's 10 o'clock at night, absolutely pitch black, and I'm out there on my laptop coding, sitting next to this thing with a bunch of cables attached, and I tweak some code, upload it, and this thing takes off, ripping my laptop out of my hands the night before the competition. So the chalk block is what you put underneath the drive axle of any vehicle to prevent it from accidental danger and safety and everything else. So one word of advice is, get your vehicle up on some sort of a safety chalk while you're programming it, tweaking, playing with it. Other things.
I would say come watch once. Or watch the videos. I mean, get an idea of what your competition's going to be like. Probably start with an easy chassis and wrap your head around code.
Yep.
That'll be the easiest approach.
It's not, there is no one.
And it is not an easy approach.
No, it's technical, but it comes down to systems integration, right? It's, can you handle GPS? Yes. Can you handle motor controllers? Yes. Can you get your chassis moving? Cool. Can you control steering? Great. It's all those pieces and getting them together, especially not the night before. Didn't work so well, but yeah, good luck. I can't wait to meet that team. That's going to be really cool.
So the concept of autonomous vehicles has hit the mainstream pretty big in the last
zeitgeist.
10 years.
Yeah.
So do you have any thoughts about practical real-world use and how you've seen AVC change over 10 years? Are you more fearful of autonomous vehicles on the road? Are you very interested in autonomous vehicles? What's sort of your...
I think we should take full credit for the advancement in autonomous vehicles.
We did.
Yeah, cool. Our work here's done.
It was all us.
Does anything make you fearful? No, because I mean, I know what it takes, and I see the resources that the companies behind those vehicles have, and the slow steps that they're taking, and for one or two people to put one of these together is a technical hurdle. To have a company do it with lots and lots of software resources, I think it's very doable. So I'm not too worried. Although I think I'm still going to lose the bet to my wife. It was 10, I think it was 2007-ish, 2008-ish. No, it must have been later than that. 10 years, you'd be able to buy a autonomous vehicle on the regular market. So you could
close, but no.
Maybe it was 2012, but it was like the bet was in 10 years you'd be able to walk onto a car dealership, pay the money, and it wouldn't be a weird vehicle. It wouldn't be like a Google fancy car. It would just be an autonomous car from Dodge or anybody else. We're close. Volvo, what is Volvo, 2020? Yeah.
Oh, is that really?
Yeah.
I've heard that.
Yeah. There's all sorts of autonomous. So to go back to anything that scares us or worries us, or
yeah, would you get in one yourself? Are you worried about having them on the roads?
I'm not really worried about having them on the roads. I mean, okay, tinfoil hat. I do. It does concern. Shut up. It does concern me, right? Get this. It does concern me that the control is being taken out of people's hands in that fashion. I do think that there are, in some circles, altruistic motives to do this and make this a thing. Hey, we can cut down on deaths on the freeway. That is good. But when the technology matures and money interests get it, I don't know what happens then. And if there's anything I've learned of late, it's that I don't trust money interests. But besides that, I would never own one. I'm very much about technology that enhances my experience as a human. I don't want experiences taken away. And so I like to drive. I like to fly. I like to do a lot of things myself. I like technology. I love being an engineer. I love engineering things. But I don't want everything done for me, right? There are days where I just resent, that's not my phone, that's the microphone. I resent this microphone, no. I resent having the phone, I resent having to be in contact with everyone, and I want to find something else outside of the norm. So I don't really I see a lot of humanity going that way. Maybe this is a bad, okay, this is the tinfoil.
No, it's good. It's good that you line your hat with tinfoil. I agree with you in that I enjoy driving a car at certain times. Right, there's nothing more fun than like driving a car with an open road, full tank of gas. Absolutely. Like, let's go check it out.
So you're saying in a situation where like you're stuck in traffic.
But 99% of the time, I just take over.
Really?
Oh God, yeah. Stuck in traffic, commuting to and from work. I'm just listening to my podcast. I don't need to be driving. Have something else do this for me. Now, I've talked to my dad at length about this, and he made a really good point that autonomous vehicles will probably never make it worldwide. It's a very rich Western concept.
I would agree.
Expensive cars and very controlled environments and all these different things. We think that it's only going to be, we think it's going to be worldwide. It's really only going to be in sort of, first world, rich Western countries. But that said, man, there's some great articles, a little sci-fi-ish, talking about what happens when, what are the numbers, 5 million truck drivers? Right? What do we do? And then taxi drivers and Lyft drivers and Uber drivers and all this stuff. But you said that you'd never own an autonomous vehicle, and I don't think I will either. I think I'd rent one. Right?
I can see doing that. If you're going out of town and you don't want to mess with, totally.
The parking spaces, all the nasty stuff that comes with cars. It's really interesting how that changes. So I'm very excited for the future. I just don't know how it's all going to shake out.
Perfect. All right, the one you've been waiting for, Pete.
Have I?
What is the craziest thing you can recall happening at AVC?
Well, that would be the helicopter going down between. This is excuse me. This is effectively what put the final nail in the coffin of aerial AVC.
Where were we?
We were at the Res.
The Res. What year? 4, 5, 6?
I don't even remember.
Okay.
It wasn't. It might have been 5, 6 years ago. Yeah.
Okay.
And I can put my normal for this. This isn't freaky. So we had the competition was you have to take off from shore, fly across the water to an island where we had Taylor and like Tyler Talmadge.
And you had to drop a tennis ball?
And you had to drop a tennis ball on the island. They had to verify it. Then you had to fly back, optionally fly under some junk, and then land back.
It was cool.
And it was a really cool challenge. And the thing about aerial AVC at that time, and probably would be still today, is that when you had it locked down, you were golden, right? If you had your hardware, if you had your algorithms fine, it was a done deal. All you had to do is throw the switch, and it would go out, and it would come back, and you're great. If you did not know what you were doing, you would fail miserably, and things would crash, and things would burn, and people could get hurt, and it was really awful. Well, this helicopter, it was a 500 size electric helicopter, right? So the rotor is like big. This will take your head off. It was a second run, as I recall. His first run went fine. Goes up, flies out, drops tennis ball, comes back, lands. It was pretty good. Second time, he's coming back, and it's like I can see he's off kilter, and he's drifting, and then he's drifting, and like, oh my God, and he plants it between a whole bunch of parked cars. And it's like, nope. And like, lipo fire, and nope, we can't do that anymore. So we gracefully finished up that event, did some of this, and said, we can't do aerial anymore.
I want, if we go back in time, year number 1, we had what we thought would be ground vehicles, and a couple aerial vehicles showed up. And then year number 2, the aerial vehicles like dominated the course. They just went around real fast.
And then we had to split it.
Well, we had to split, but year number 3, I think it was year number 3, we added the award, you got extra points for the lower you flew. So the closer, because some planes would just take up and just do this big loop. And then you're like, okay, yeah, that was really So the third year, I think it was the third year, we were like, okay, the closer to the ground you are, the more points you get. And so, yeah, people just took that down inside their settings. Like instead of, 500 meters, take it down to 50 meters, take it down to 10 meters. So now you have these things flying over the heads of the crowd and sometimes into the crowd. And I remember a couple crashes as it came around that last corner across the finish line.
Yeah, some pretty freaky moments.
Yeah, and we thought that only kind of adults would show up, but very quickly AVC appealed to families, and so we had kids standing around, so that was kind of scary.
Yeah, we had a lot of close calls those early days.
All right, what do both of you enjoy hosting, or what do you enjoy most about hosting AVC each year? So what keeps you wanting to do it every single time?
Yeah.
Just engaging with the people.
It's incredible. The pits are so much fun. Just to walk around and see people pulling their hair out, and then somebody next to them loaning them the soldering iron to figure out and talking about other algorithms and how they did X, Y, Z. And people just meeting for the first time. So like, oh, you're so-and-so. I saw you on the comment section. Or, oh, I saw your video. Like to meet in real person, in person, the folks that they had known online is just very valuable. I get a lot from that. It's fun.
Talk a little bit about APRS and PRS.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell us a little about your vehicle here.
Okay.
This is your story.
Okay. So Maker Faire, New York, 5-6 years ago, I was walking around Maker Faire, and they had this thing called Power Racing Series, PRS. And it was all these adults in Power Wheels driving around the court, and it was so much fun. It was the most hilarious thing ever, And the vehicles were like, I looked at them, I was like, wow, I could build something that looks like a lot of fun. And it kind of went dormant. I really wanted to participate, but it was mostly out on the East Coast, and we're in the middle of the country, so it didn't work out. And then AVC 2 years ago, we started kicking around ideas, and somehow I got hooked up with the folks at PRS. They had wanted to create an autonomous category of PRS, and I had wanted to do sort of a PRS version of AVC, so it made sense. So we got together. They know how to put on a show. Oh my God, it was so much fun. We really wanted autonomous vehicles to start moving people rather than just little, what'd you call them, 10th scale RC trucks. Like, that's cool, but my tagline was always like, how much do you trust your code? Like, have a seat. Do you trust it that much? Because when your life is on the line, it's a very different situation than just sort of like setting a truck free. So it made sense. We combined forces 2 years ago, and it was, my wife and I put this vehicle together, and we had a ton of fun. She raced it in the PRS section where she drove it, and then we modified it. We pull a couple pins and put it into autonomous mode where it drives itself, and I just hold my hands up. She did extremely well. I didn't make it around the first corner. So yeah, it was a very fun day.
What is your favorite type of autonomous technology? What is your choice? Want to run through the list a little bit about, you know, color tracking and LiDAR and satellite tracking?
Favorite autonomous technology? I mean, are you talking about?
What would you trust the most if you were building an AVC?
So you're talking about like solutions? What technologies would we use to make an autonomous vehicle? Or
yes.
Well, I don't have any real practical application here because I've been working every one of the AVCs.
Sucker.
But my knowledge of the technologies are that LiDAR is very good, GPS is relatively standard, and I mean, you've done this a couple of times. What have you relied on?
For me, it was early versions of LiDAR and GPS, and it always came down to mechanical. Controlling
the failures.
Controlling steering was always my pitfall.
What did you do it with?
Well,
a big servo? Did you have like a bigger?
It was a really bad idea. What do you call it? Linear actuator. A 12-volt linear actuator that's been overvoltage to 24 volts, and so and it works. It's just really slow. Yeah, you got a servo big enough? Like, you can't use any kind of RC servos. I tried. I found the biggest one I could.
Really? How big?
Big, chunky thing.
I wouldn't do it.
You need. It's amazing how much force humans can push on stuff.
I guess I shouldn't be surprised.
So yeah, there's that. So yeah, it's some laser rangefinders, some GPS, and a couple motor control. That was the most of it. The other solutions that we've seen, GPS RTK. So that's the real-time kinematics. That theoretically gives you a centimeter level GPS. The issue with that is that you have to have a base station transmitting the correction values. So not really real world applicable. Like, you're not going to get that on your Chevy Volt. It's there's not enough base stations in the world. And then camera, computer vision. It's a little beyond my technical abilities, but
I haven't played with it.
That's how most folks are doing it, is trying to figure out the point clouds and figuring out where the obstacles are and then navigating around those. As processing power goes up, it becomes more and more viable.
Also, Pete, why don't you just show us your T-shirt?
So here's my history of working AVCs. And I don't know what years these are, but what I can tell you is that the older T-shirts tend to be larger because for some reason I would get large, extra large, and double extra large T-shirts. And so I look like I'm out in a tent.
I got 2016 here.
Anybody's guess, but I was a referee. I think this is the double XL. Yeah, it's a huge shirt.
2017.
I think that's my favorite. Pete Holm does some really cool work. I really dig that T-shirt.
That was a good T-shirt.
And then this one was probably my second fave. I think I eked. Well, that was a large, so yeah. And that was the year before. That one, that might have been 16. Oh, that's 15. That's 15.
Oh, this goes 11? 2011? Yeah.
And then these guys, I had a couple of these, and I think these were for work in the one that was, oh, I can't remember. It was like a full weekend that we spent. and I had a couple of these.
Yeah,
but they don't
yeah.
actually say AVC on them. And then there was this one. This was the year of the shoodie.
Yep.
Right? So I didn't get the shoodie, and I was lamenting I did not get a shoodie, but I did get this. And
2010.
yeah, I ended up not wearing this because Becky said I'd see my nipples through it. It was really embarrassing.
You can take the piercings
and then
out,
it starts
and it's
thinking,
less obvious.
well, come on, man.
You can't get them back in.
So that's my history of AVC garb, and I still have them.
You guys want to talk about, you know, the greatest crashes and all that type of stuff beyond the one?
Beyond the one?
Yeah.
The one that's twisted me for so many years?
That was the first water crash.
Okay, so all right, we were discussing this a little bit before.
Yeah.
Was this, this was like an 1/8 scale, about yay big? It wasn't the big one. Remember the big one that was like a triple or like a 6-wheel?
Yeah, the big plastic one.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, this was
Wasn't that
this was a little ground rover that somehow popped the curb and then ran down
That's
into the
right,
ditch.
That's right, I remember that.
And
he got the water hazard.
Water, because he pulled it out and it was just like dropped water coming off of it. It was like, oh man, I'm sorry.
And then there was, yeah, like the first couple of years, airplanes going in trees and in the crowd and stuff like that. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't get to mention the most amazing moment. We didn't talk about the most amazing moment, which was also in the early years, which it was in the aerial competition. His name was Antonio. I don't remember his last name. Antonio, if you're watching right now, I'm still amazed from your work, dude. And he had a flying wing that he had set up to fly autonomously, and he hand launched it and held the radio out here. And we sat there and watched it navigate the building, and then go out over the pond and like descend and set up for his approach. And it slowly came in, and he landed it right in the square. I mean, virtually impossible for those days. And the place went nuts. You know, it landed itself. He had the radio. I'm still aghast that he was able to do this. And he took it all.
Yep. And he was unknown to the community at the time. He had driven up from Texas and beat everybody out of the field.
Yeah.
And there were some big people in it.
Student.
Yeah, it was very impressive.
Kicked it.
It was either that year or the next year. Another wing ended up in the tree outside the SparkFun building, and somebody called the fire department, and they very nicely came over and pulled that.
Yeah.
There was the quadcopter at the res that ran into the fence. And so big quadcopter ran into the fence and then just ejected its lithium polymer battery. And detonated, started smoking and fire everywhere. That was a good crash.
Here you go.
Was it 2 years ago? Was the shopping cart gone mad? So a bunch of students at CU had taken a grocery cart and didn't program it very well. So this thing weighed probably 100 pounds and just started jerkily, started driving mad and was trying to drive into the crowd.
I think I was doing something else at that competition. I remember that.
I think you were doing
incident.
BattleBots, yeah.
I was bad for BattleBots. I was bad for BattleBots. Then there was one of the years at the old building. Somebody had a 5th scale. We've seen more and more 5th scale cars and trucks come, and it just went nuts and cleaved somebody right in the ankle.
Yeah, that was the ankle award year. Yeah, because these things get big enough and have enough kinetic energy that you don't want to be near it when it hits you.
And he just looked down, wham, and that was it. We're like, oh boy.
Yeah. Good spectators, good people.
Another good moment was probably just last year when Robert Bundy had, Robert Bundy is a guy, he's competing at this one too, and he had a couple of inverse pendulum bots, right? And they're dressed up like kids, and one's a little bit taller. 1 potato and 2 potato. And in last year's course, right, it's cool enough that he brought these things, not just one of them, 2 of them.
Yeah.
And they weren't identical. Each one was engineered differently. Dude, you must have some time on your hands. But I can't remember which one it was. It had gotten around the course and got itself into a funky little corner and it didn't lose. It just like, and we're all like, he's screwed, he's screwed, he's screwed. And damn it, the thing didn't figure it out, back out, find the course, and finish. Are you kidding me? So another big moment. Crashes. I don't know. So many of the little bots, they get pinned in the corner, they get stuck against a hay bale or something. So it's not as epic as all that. It's rare that you see something that's really, oh my God.
The mass starts were always interesting to me. So at the end of every year, once everybody kind of finished the course, and you would be invited, like, hey, we're going to do a mass start, so if you want to put your robots down, know that it's going to be it's basically demolition derby, autonomous demolition derby. And I always enjoyed those, because it's stuff flying everywhere and good times. But of course, there's always a couple that are fast off the line and basically finish the course again. Right? They do a successful fourth run with everybody around them. But,
yeah, the Dead Reckoning bots are always really good at that for some reason. So, I think that's everything.
Yeah, I'm so glad you got the
mass starts.
That's
one
of the coolest things I've ever seen, for sure. Yeah. You guys just want to do like a nice little sign off, like thank you to all the competitors and everyone, and then make your exit in the vehicle.
Sounds good.
You got sunglasses and a scarf and a driving
I
cap?
don't. I should. I wonder how I'm going to get out. I'll see if I can thread that needle. Yeah, I won't tag the camera. What do we? So we're saying, yeah. Thank you very much.
Yeah, just a nice.
Are you running now?
All the competitors and everyone who made the memories over the years. You know,
Perfect.
All the staff, everyone.
So thank you everybody for participating in AVC for the last 10 years.
10 years.
We've had a fantastic time running it, and hopefully we keep on. And yeah.
Yeah, we'll see you on the field.
Yeah, you really should have had like a backwards driving cap and some goggles.
Well, I have
You have to pull the safety switch.
Oh, I do, and I have the remote kill switch.
Good.
Safety, because it's important that it's in between your legs where you can't reach it when things go wrong.
Wait a minute, those front wheels are fake?
Oh yeah.
There you are.